going to be, I'm not going to say a controversial video, but I feel that a lot of theology people, I've said that so wrong. I had it in my head and I just said it completely wrong. But people who study theology will be crying right now. But I'm going to talk about, like, it's not necessarily a controversial verse, but it's a verse where it's kind of like misinterpreted. But this video I'm going to show how sometimes not necessarily misinterpretation, but using it in other aspects of life can actually be beneficial. So that is Philippines. I'm sorry, it's early morning. It's not even. It's just 6 o'clock. It's Philippines 4 verse 13. And it's, I can do all these through Him who gives me strength. Now you're probably thinking, you probably know what I'm about. So the context of this, so first I'll talk about the context. So the context, basically what this verse is really kind of emphasizing is the fact that I can do all of God's work who gives me strength. So it's the idea of that I can go, for example, and evangelize because God gives me strength, or I can go I can speak in a Bible study because God gives me strength, that sort of thing. Now, where people say it's misinterpreted is not necessarily meant to be used for example, if you're about to go for a race and it's something that you say, I can do this, like as a prep kind of talk kind of thing to talk yourself into doing things. Now, I don't necessarily think there's nothing wrong with that to a certain extent. Now, it does become a problem if you're using it, if you're literally just about to sin, because some people use this verse as literally everything that I do, even if it goes against God's word, anything, then I'll do it. Then obviously that becomes a bit of a problem because God doesn't give us the strength to sin. Like, that's the complete opposite. But with situations, I think, where, like, a good example would be if you're in the middle of the race and you're about to give up, and you may say this verse, like, oh, I remember God, I can do this, God who gives me strength. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And sometimes as well, to get out of the bed, or even to do your daily tasks, I don't know, you may be in a run, I don't think, again, there's anything wrong with leaning on to this verse. So that's kind of my hot take. And the reason why I decided to do a video, because it was like brought back to me again on the Bible app, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do a video. So because, for example, I will use this verse. That's probably why I'm so passionate, because I will use this verse, as you would say, out of context. But for somebody who has high anxiety and who's currently going through a flare-up, I don't see anything wrong with this, because sometimes this verse is literally the thing that gets me to do literally the bare minimum, or like the daily tasks, you know what I mean? So again, I don't think it's necessarily wrong. Sometimes when we look at verses and think, okay, how can we apply this as an everyday thing? But we do cross that line when we start to use it as an excuse to kind of sin or do things which actually goes against God's teachings, but use this to say, well, I can do anything because God gives me no, that's not necessarily the point, and that's how it can go a little bit too overboard. But I don't necessarily see that there's anything wrong with it in using it in daily lives, as in, if it is just to talk to somebody, or to kind of get out of bed in the morning, or not even in the morning, but in throughout the day, or to do daily tasks, or if it's something that generally does help you, don't feel that oh no, I can't use it anymore because I'm using it wrong. But think, okay, how am I using it? Is it actually, am I using it to do things that God would approve, or is it things that God would actually wouldn't want me to do? And just think about that way. But I thought I'd just kind of like share my kind of opinion on this verse. But again, some like proper heavy Bible scholars and studies and stuff will probably dislike this video, but that's my kind of other like way around of using this verse, or to be fair, for me and my personal experience. So